Let's get you back inside the courtroom. On the stand now is an ER nurse who treated the alleged victim. And remember, you may hear the audio drop out at times. This is because of a court order to protect the identity of the accuser.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name for the record?
Yep. Hi, I'm Carly Littlejohn. It's C-A-R-L-Y, last name Littlejohn.
How are you currently employed?
I'm currently employed as a registered nurse at the Mass General Emergency Department.
In what department or area of specialty?
In the emergency department, emergency medicine.
How long have you been a nurse at Mass General Hospital?
I've been a nurse since November of 2023.
Prior to becoming a nurse at Mass General, did you hold any other jobs in the medical field?
I did. I began as an EMT in 2017. I later progressed to get my paramedic licensure in July of 2020. I was employed as a paramedic on the ambulance from 2020 to 2024, and I also worked as a paramedic in the emergency department of Mass General beginning in April of 2023.
So beginning in April 2023, you worked at Mass General Hospital, but first as a paramedic and later as a nurse?
That's correct. What
is your educational background?
So as previously mentioned, I got my EMT certificate. I also have my paramedic licensure. I graduated from Syracuse University with a degree in biology in 2018. And then I graduated with a Bachelor's of Science in Nursing in 2023 from Mass General Institute of Health Professions.
In addition to the licenses and certifications that you already mentioned, do you hold any others?
Yes, I do. I hold BLS, so Basic Life Support, ACLS, Advanced Cardiac Life Support, NRP, Neonatal Resuscitation Program, PALS, Pediatric Advanced Life Support, TNCC, Trauma Nurse Core Certification.
In March of 2024, you were employed as a nurse at Mass General Hospital, is that correct?
That's correct.
And on March 15th, 2024, did you participate in the medical treatment of a woman named?
That's correct.
Along with a physician in the emergency department, did you perform what's referred to as an evidence collection kit on Ms.
I did.
In your role as an emergency department nurse, had you been previously trained in how to perform an evidence collection kit?
Yes, I have.
Within the kit itself, are there also step-by-step instructions for medical providers?
There are.
As part of that evidence collection kit, did you ask Ms. a series of questions?
Yes, I did.
Did you also conduct a head-to-toe physical examination?
Yes, I did.
Did you document that in forms that are contained within the evidence collection kit?
Yes, I did.
Did you make notes regarding your treatment of Ms. that day?
I did.
How did you do that?
I did them within the examination kit as well as in the electronic medical record.
When you say examination kit, like the evidence collection kit?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Have you seen a copy of Ms. record of treatment from March 15th of 2024 at Mass General Hospital?
Yes, I have.
And when you saw it, did you see your notes contained within it?
Yes.
Where did you first meet with Ms. in the hospital that day?
I first met with her in the urgent section of our emergency department in room 22.
Did you speak with her about having an evidence collection kit performed?
Yes, it's necessary to obtain consent before performing the kit.
And at that time, did you understand that you would later be performing the kit, or were you planning to page a different nurse to do that?
So we started off by paging the nurse, but all nurses in the emergency department are qualified to perform a kit as well.
So you knew that there was either possibility?
That's
there.
Correct. Yep.
You said that a patient needs to consent to having an evidence collection kit performed. Is there a consent form within the kit?
There is.
What do you tell a patient about the timing of an evidence collection kit or anything else about the kit prior to performing it?
So prior to starting, I kind of run through the steps of the kit. I explain what we're going to be doing, that we're going to be doing a head-to-toe physical exam and also evidence collection, which does involve swabs of just external and internal swabs as well. And I kind of talk them through everything and obtain their consent. And I'm sorry, was there another part of that question I'm missing?
Do you tell them anything about the timing, like how long the kit might take?
Typically the kits take 4 hours, and you're with the patient for 4 hours, and you cannot exit the room once you start the kit.
Does a patient have to meet certain criteria to be able to provide consent for the kit?
Yes, they do.
And what are those criteria?
They have to be medically cleared and able to consent to the exam. So medically cleared just determines that there's no life-threatening injuries we would need to treat prior to performing the exam, and also that they're able to consent to the exam as well.
How do you make that determination that they're able to consent?
Just that they're talking with clear speech, they're alert and oriented ×3, they're able to form a linear thought pattern, they're making eye contact, they're able to walk and talk on their own, and it's not just a decision I make, it's also part of the collaborative team with the emergency room doctor as well.
You said alert and oriented ×3. Can you explain to the jury what that means?
Of course. So you know who you are, you know where you are, you know what date, time it is, and you know like what's going on essentially.
How do you assess that?
So a couple different ways. So you can just talk to the patient, like usually anybody who works in the medicine can just talk with the patient, determine that they're able to answer your questions clearly, coherently, that they have like a straight way of thinking, like a linear thought pattern. Also, you can ask them directly, do you know your name? Do you know where you are? Do you know what the date and the time is? And also just by general like interactions with the patient as well.
In this case, did you determine that Ms. was capable of consenting to the evidence collection kit?
Yes, I did.
And did you in fact perform the kit on Ms. in the emergency department at that time?
Yes, I did.
Where in the hospital was that examination conducted?
In room 22 in the urgent department.
Do evidence collection kits come with a particular number assigned to them?
Yes, they do.
How do you know what the number is?
So it's listed on the outside of the box, and there's a big like sticker, a bunch of stickers that are uniquely identified that go on each and every page of the kit as well.
I'm going to show you a photograph and ask if you recognize what that photo depicts.
Yes, I do.
What is it?
So that's the outside copy of the evidence collection kit, what we fill out on the outside of the box.
And do you see the sticker there reflecting that unique number that's assigned to that kit?
Yes, I do.
What is the number assigned?
So there's two numbers. So the one up here is the toxicology kit that's included, and then there's a second number. The second number, do you want me to read it out loud?
Sure.
Okay. The second number is MA07395.
Each evidence collection kit is a box, is that right?
That's correct.
And it contains forms and envelopes?
It does.
In this case, did you use the forms contained within the kit to document your examination of?
Yes, I did.
Looking at Form 3, is this a form on which you summarized a statement that Ms. made to you about what had happened?
Yes.
Whose handwriting is that?
That is my handwriting.
And can you read what you wrote?
Yep. So, patient had date, went back to his hotel, awoke to unknown male inside of her for unknown amount of time. Patient states she remembers him saying, quote, he, in parentheses, date, couldn't show you a good time, end quote. Patient states she pushed him off of her and tried to get up to find her clothes. Patient states he followed her around the hotel room, pushing her against walls and furniture, attempting to keep hooking up. Patient again pushed him off and told him to, quote, get away, end quote, dressed and walked home.
So that whole paragraph, is that all a quote from or only the statements that are in quotation marks?
Only the statements that are in quotation marks. It's a general summary.
I'm going to show you a separate form within the records called Form 2A. I'm going to try to zoom in. I know the font is a little bit small, at least for me. Whose handwriting is on this form?
That's my handwriting.
And where are you as you're posing these questions to Ms.
I'm standing at the patient's bedside.
Coming up, more testimony in the Irish firefighter rape trial against Terrence Crosby. Plus, we're going to head to California, where Jay Caro has now pleaded guilty to the murder of his own 7-month-old baby. My thoughts from the bench up next. Stay tuned.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, Family Matters star Darius McCrary makes a bizarre court appearance facing felony charges. We'll dive deeper as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV.
Donna Edelson wasn't a regular mother.
She's the matriarch mastermind.
She's just being a parent, not a killer.
Victim to Verdict with Ted Rollins. Season finale, Saturday night at 8 Eastern and Pacific.
Only on Court TV.
Let's quickly turn to California, where the father of missing baby Emmanuel has now pleaded guilty to his infant son's murder.
How do you plead to the charge in count 1 of the amended felony complaint of violation of Penal Code Section 187A?
I'm guilty.
And for clarification for the record, that's going to be in the second degree?
Yes.
Sir, do you admit that you committed a violation of Penal Code Section 187, Subdivision A, a felony, in that on or about August 5th of 2025 through and including August 14th of 2025 in the County of Riverside, State of California, you did willfully and unlawfully murder baby Doe, initials EH, a human being?
I admit.
Jay Caro sobbed in a California court yesterday as he admitted to abusing and murdering his defenseless 7-month-old son. Baby Emmanuel's remains have still not been found. His wife, Rebecca Harrow, was in court too, but pled not guilty, and she is scheduled to have her preliminary hearing on charges of murder and filing a false police report on November 3rd, the same day that her husband, Jake, is scheduled to be sentenced. Now for my thoughts from the bench on this case. This case disgusts me even more than other child murder cases we've covered. Why? Because the father, Jake, who's now pled guilty, he has a history of child abuse against another one of his own children. It was only 2 years ago that he was convicted of child cruelty against another infant daughter who, according to law enforcement, is now permanently bedridden as a result of his abuse. And in that case, the judge gave him probation instead of any prison time. I agree with the district attorney who later called that decision an outrageous error in judgment. Because if he abused a child once, he will do it again. And now his child had paid the ultimate price. He should not be let out of prison. He should testify against the mother, and he should immediately disclose the whereabouts of that poor baby boy's body. Those are my thoughts from the bench. I want to take this opportunity to bring in, still with us, trial attorney Mackenzie Joy Brennan. Mackenzie, it disgusts me, it frustrates me. There's so many different adjectives I could use, but let me ask you about the fact that, and number one, he pled. That's a good thing in our system, that he owned up and admitted that he murdered his child.
Yeah, boy, I agree with you on all those fronts. I keep going back and forth as to whether I think the mother is more or less involved than he is, because obviously she has pled not guilty, but she must be involved to some extent because she made that 911 call. She said that he was with her when whatever happened. So she must be involved to a certain extent, but then on the other hand, he does have this history. So of the two of them, I would believe more easily that he had more to do with it. But boy, just thinking about being whoever was involved in sentencing him to probation in that first case, and that's where this gets us. I think with things like child abuse, there should be no tolerance for let's try again without some showing of reform, without completing a course at the very least, that there's some concrete proof that you're not going to do this again, that you're a different person.
And let's talk about the wife, because I believe they both fully know what happened and were involved in some capacity. I have no doubt the mother of the child knew and was involved, but that's my opinion. Putting that aside, she's innocent until proven guilty, but that's what I think. Putting that aside, that's why I think he needs to testify against her, because otherwise she could easily say, Mackenzie, I didn't know, I wasn't there, I had nothing to do with it. He did it, he's already pled to it. I think that's a good defense if she goes that route.
I think you're right, and I'm sure that it's kind of a race against time on both sides. I do wonder if he agreed to this in some sort of, prisoner's dilemma type scenario, and that it may be reflected in sentencing or some promise was made behind the scenes. Obviously, we did see him involved in some searches early on, and so that makes me wonder if that was part of an agreement, and I also wonder if he was being candid when he brought them on those searches, or if he knows.
And unfortunately, we're out of time. Thank you so much, Mackenzie, for joining us. Coming up next, Kelly Craft joining me for more of the Irish firefighter rape trial. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Court TV Live. I'm Ashley Wilcott.
And hi, everyone. I'm Kelly Craft. Thank you so much for being with us this afternoon. And we are in Boston, Massachusetts, where it is day 2 of testimony in the Irish firefighter rape trial for Terrence Crosby.
The 38-year-old was visiting Boston with fellow firefighters to walk in the St. Patrick's Day parade just last year when prosecutors say he raped a woman at a hotel.
The alleged victim, who has decided to remain nameless, testified at Crosby's first trial that she had consensual sex with another firefighter who was rooming with Crosby that night. She says they fell asleep in separate beds, but later awoke to Crosby raping her.
And let's get you back into court now. We are picking it up with more testimony from the ER nurse, Carly Littlejohn. She is still on direct examination by the state.
So looking up at the top section and making your way down, can you just explain generally what types of information the form is designed to collect?
Yep, it's just general patient information like age, gender, race, when the exam was completed, the time it was completed, and where it was done.
Okay, so looking at section C, weapons/force used, is that your X mark there next to hold down/body weight?
Yes, it is.
And in the section directly below that, acts described by the patient, there are a number of X marks there, and next to some of them, it's marked unsure. Had Ms. told you that she had been asleep initially when the events began?
Yes, that's correct.
And so was she able to tell you what had occurred while she was asleep?
No, she was not. That's why it's marked unsure.
So moving to Form 2B within the records, is there a section on this form, specifically within Section A, pertinent/recent health history, where you document if the patient had consensual sex in the past 120 hours or 5 days?
Yes.
And do you know what the purpose is of that question, or what the significance is of that time frame?
The significance is that is approximately how long a evidence collection kit can be obtained for. So if it had been outside that window, it wouldn't be relevant for evidence collection.
Okay. And if a patient reports to you that she has had multiple episodes of consensual intercourse within that 5-day period, would you document all of them or just the most recent one?
All of them.
She's answered. Next question, please.
And in this case, what was reported to you about whether Ms. had consensual sexual intercourse in the past 5 days?
It was reported she had one event of consensual intercourse, which ended approximately 7 hours, as documented.
7 hours prior to you posing the question?
Yes, correct.
Moving to Form 4 within the evidence collection kit, is this the form on which the physical examination of Ms. was documented, or the initial part of the physical examination, I should say?
Yes.
Whose notes are there in the upper left corner?
Those are mine.
And can you read what you wrote there?
Yep. Patient, so PT means patient, well appearing, tearful and anxious, otherwise appears healthy.
And are these your notes further down below the body maps and on the second body map as well?
Yes, they are.
Can you explain what each of those notes indicates?
Yep, so 1 and 3 are both pointing to the vaginal area. The PA next to line 1 says pain to vaginal area, and there's indicated that there's no photograph. And then with the same, pointing to the same area of the body, line 3 says LA, which means laceration, and there's a laceration to the external vaginal opening, and there is no photograph. Line 2 was the line drawn to the head, just pain to the head with no photo.
You mentioned that there's a collaborative team that makes the initial decision about whether the patient can consent to having the kit be performed, and that included the physician.
That's correct.
Were you also working alongside a physician when performing this part of the kit, the physical examination?
Yes, I was.
And who was that physician?
Dr. Lindsay Walsh.
Looking at Form 5 within the records, is this a form that documents the pelvic examination that was part of the evidence collection kit in this case?
Yes.
Were you present for the pelvic examination?
I was.
Who performed the actual exam?
Dr. Lindsay Walsh.
So I'm scrolling down and I note the notation there where it says at the bottom, the location number on diagram is 1, and then small tear without active bleeding at posterior foreshed. Who made that note, if you know?
Dr. Lindsay Walsh.
Did you yourself take any additional swabs from Ms. body beyond the swabs that were taken during the pelvic examination?
Yes, I did.
Where did you take those swabs from on her body?
I would have to see the document to recall.
Is this a list of all of the available steps within the evidence collection kit with notations about which steps were actually performed in this case?
Yes, it is.
Can you tell me who made those check marks, if it was you or Dr. Walsh or someone else?
I made those marks.
And next to step 10, does it note that additional swabs were taken taken from?
Yes.
And let me ask you a different way. Did Dr. Walsh take all of the internal swabs in this case?
Yes, Dr. Walsh did all the internal swabs and I did all the external swabs.
Okay. I'm going to ask you as well if there were steps within the kit that you did not perform that you noted on here.
Yes.
And can you explain what those were?
So step 7A and 7B, foreign material collection, I did not do that. Also, she did not give us her underwear that was worn during the exam. And there were no bite marks to swab, so I did not obtain that. I did not obtain the pubic hair combings or the anal swabs or smear. And then there's some extra clothing listed below that I didn't collect as well.
So is it accurate that her bra was taken, her shirt was taken, and her pants were taken?
And her underwear that was worn immediately after. Yes.
Oh, thank you. Up above,
yeah,
under step 8?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep.
Looking at Form 2B, I have some other questions for you about that. Can you explain what is documented in Section B on this form?
Yep, so it's asking if the patient has changed their clothes and if they have bathed or showered. They did change their clothes, but they did not bathe or shower.
And in Section D, acts described by the patient, there's a question about prolonged or forceful touching of the patient's skin by the bare hands or fingers of the person. What did you note there?
I wrote yes, and then it says describe location. I wrote chest/breast.
And in speaking with a patient about what happened to them prior to their arrival, do you know what the significance is of asking them whether there was touching anywhere else on their body?
It's for additional DNA collection. We'll swab those areas if the patient consents.
So was a swab taken of Ms. Chest or breast area?
I believe so, but I would have to look at the documents to make sure.
Do you know if that's noted specifically within the records or only within the kit itself?
It might be within the kit itself. Might be under additional swabs.
Okay. Within the kit itself, is there room to make notations on the envelope that contains each of the different types of swabs?
Yes, there is.
How did the evidence collection process end in this case?
The evidence collection process ends with filling out the final form, just making sure you have all your documents in order. And then it ends with putting all the specific swabs back into their specific containers, off of the drying rack into the specific containers, folding them up, putting them in the specific envelopes that they go in. And then all the envelopes go back into the kit, and then it is sealed. And then the kit is picked up by our resource nurse and locked up until the police come and retrieve it.
I'm going to show you what was marked Exhibit 10 with the court's permission.
Yes.
We are going to take a break here, but I do want to mention, you see the verdict clock is up. This is Wisconsin versus Parise Larry Jr., the caught in the crossfire murder trial. Kelly, it's almost 1 hour, so it's pretty quick or pretty new that they've been out there deliberating.
Yeah, jury instructions took a long time in that case.
Yes, they did, and I think they have a lot to talk about because we know shots were fired, but it's a little confusing as to who fired what shots.
Yes.
All right, stay with us. Coming up, we'll have more testimony in the Irish firefighter rape trial, and you're on Court TV, your front row seat to justice.
Tonight on Closing Arguments, Family Matters star Darius McCrary makes a bizarre court appearance facing felony charges. We'll dive deeper as our experts weigh in.
Closing Arguments, tonight at 8, 7 Central, only on Court TV. Next week,
Covering the country's biggest trials before we bring you inside the courtroom. Plus, the most compelling true crime cases in our daily spotlight.
opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8, 7 Central on Court TV.
Oh.
Welcome back to Court TV Live. Let's head back to Boston for the Irish firefighter rape trial of Terrence Crosby.
The defendant in this case is 38 years old, and he was visiting Boston with fellow firefighters. They were walking in the St. Patty's Day parade there last year when prosecutors say he raped a woman at a hotel. His first trial ended in a mistrial. We want to get you back into the courtroom now. We'll pick it back up where we left off. This is the ER nurse who examined the accuser. She is on the stand.
You testified earlier that that's a photo of the top of the evidence collection kit itself.
Yes.
Do you see where it's noted on there what time the kit was boxed up and secured?
Yes, I do.
Where is that?
It's under place kit and secure area. It says placed by Kristen Gilmore. That's our resource nurse. And date 3/15/24 at 8 a.m.
Okay. Is that here in the area that I've circled?
Yes.
Okay. Does the outside of the kit also indicate if it was picked up by the police?
Yes, it does.
And does it reflect the timing of that as well?
Yes, it does. It says 9:41 a.m. on 3/15/24.
Is that here where I've circled?
Yes.
Do you know how much time you spent with that day? Are you able to tell without looking at the record itself of the timeline?
I would say she came, I believe, into the department around 3:30 in the morning, and then I was with her until the kit was secured at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I was with her pretty much for that entire time period.
And during, well, actually, let me ask you, do you know if there's also a section of the medical record that documents the timeline of your, I guess, assignment to as her nurse?
Yes, there is.
While you were performing the kit, were you seeing any other patients
No, it's policy that we give up our whole assignment. So like the patients you're assigned to, other nurses will take them over, and then you are not to exit the room while you're completing the exam. So you're with them face to face for at least 4 hours.
Is that at least in part so that you're not contaminating any part of the kit?
Correct.
And so for that length of time when you were interacting with her, what was her demeanor like when you spoke with her?
She was tearful. She was tearful but coherent, appropriately anxious about the situation, but very coherent. And
Objection, Your Honor. There's not a question pending. Next question.
Did you notice any slurred speech?
I did not.
Did she answer your questions appropriately?
She did.
As a registered nurse in the emergency department, do you ever see patients who are intoxicated either by alcohol or drugs?
Every day.
Based on your interactions with her, did you have any concerns that her faculties were impaired by alcohol or other substances?
I did not.
What is your practice regarding documentation if you do encounter a patient who's demonstrating those signs?
I document it in the timeline when I document how they appear. I would document something along the lines of patient appears intoxicated or not able to answer questions appropriately, and she was neither of those, unable to answer questions.
Thank you. I have no further questions.